Today I am showing you how to use all past tenses. I'm also going to give you more than 70 examples so you can know exactly how to use them. Hello and welcome to English Speaking 360. Here is the program for today. We're going to start with the simple past with regular verbs and irregular verbs. Past progressive, the ing form. The past perfect with had and the past participle. And finally, the past perfect continuous had been ing. I'm also going to explain all uses for each and every single verb tense, plus I've also included the diagrams, so if you are a visual person, it's going to help you a lot. Let's get started with the simple past. The simple past is easy. Here's how to make it. For regular verbs, you need the base verb and you add ed at the end. So work is your base verb and then you add ed. Super simple. For irregular verbs, it's a little bit more complicated. You need to use the second column. I know some of you called it V2, verb 2. For example, eat, ate, eaten. So the second one is ate. So that is your simple past. Make sure that you understand that there is no third person S. This is not the simple present, so there is no S needed anywhere. You probably already know this about the simple past. The main use is for completed actions. For example, I worked, I ate. Now here's a diagram to help you out. So all of these actions are completed actions, so they are finished actions. They happened in the past and they don't touch the present, so they happened only in the past. But there are other ways also to represent the simple past. It could be an action that has been repeated many times in the past, or it could be a series of actions. Let's take a closer look. The simple past is not so simple sometimes because it has 8 different uses. Yes, you heard me right. 8 different uses. It is not so easy. So let's take them one by one and I'm going to explain them in detail. Completed actions in the past. So this is the main use. For example, if you have a regular verb, you could say they visited Paris last year. So visit, visited, ed at the end. So you see in the little diagram here, it is a one-time action. They visited Paris one time last year. As for irregular verbs, they went to Paris in June. One time in June last year, they were in Paris. Here's another example. Grandma cooked dinner for us. She made dinner for us one time in the past. Grandma made dinner for us. It's the same thing. Number 2, a series of completed actions. For example, I woke up, brushed my teeth, and had breakfast. 3 separate actions, but each one of those happened in the past. Here's another example. He took out his laptop, opened it, and started typing. 3 separate actions, all happening in the past. Number 3, past habits and routines. Aha! For example, my family went camping every summer. It was our habit in the past. Every single summer in the past, my family and I, we all went camping together. Here's another example. I always walked to school when I was a kid. So when I was a child, every day I walked to school, so it happened many times in the past. It was my routine. I did it every day. But it's still in the past, so that's why we use the simple past. Duration in the past. Here's an example. I stayed at a resort for a week. Now you see this is a one-time event. I stayed at a resort, but the event is quite long, for a week. Even if the duration is long, it doesn't matter. It's a one-time event in the past. Another example. I traveled around Europe for 6 months. So for 6 months, that's even longer, but it's still a one-time event. The travel took place one time in the past. Number 5, a little bit more difficult here. Actions that interrupt another action in the past. Pay attention here. I was watching a great YouTube video when I decided to subscribe. Oh, that's a great idea. But do you understand what that means? I was watching. You see the diagram, right? The action happened. The watching started in the past. The watching is still happening. And then, boom. That watching is being interrupted by the decision to subscribe. You hitting the subscribe button is coming and it's cutting, it's interrupting the action of watching that great video. Here's another example. She was talking on the phone when her battery died. So she was talking, and then she got this little icon on her phone, and then her battery died. One more example. I was going to work when I slipped on a banana peel and I fell down. I was going to work, an ongoing action, when I slipped on a banana peel and I fell down. So the long action is ing, but the short action slipped. It's very quick. Slipping on a banana peel takes only like 1 second and boom, I fell down. And you see that the two short actions, slipped and fell, are both at the simple past because these two actions are the actions that are interrupting the long action of going to work. Number 6, reported speech. A little difficult too. Here's our man. He says, I'm so tired. So he said that to you. Now you meet another person and you want to repeat what he said. So what are you going to say? You're going to say, he said he was tired. Aha. He said he was tired. So both of them are in the past. He was tired, first action, and then he said he was tired, also a past action. Another example. I like pizza so much. She told me she liked pizza. So you can use said or you can use tell me, right? So she told me she liked pizza. That is also reported speech. Number 7, polite or indirect requests. Here's an example. For this one though, I'm not giving you a diagram because it doesn't really apply. I was wondering if you had any free time on Saturday. Usually when you make a request, you just go straight out and you say, do you have any free time on Saturday? But this one is more polite. I was wondering if you had any free time on Saturday. Here's another example. I was hoping you could help me with this math problem. It's not, can you help me with this math problem? It's more polite. I was hoping you could. Number 8, conditional sentences. Now, this is the second conditional. It is the unreal or hypothetical situation or hypothetical conditional. Here it is. If I had wings, I would fly south for the winter. But I don't have wings. It's an unreal situation. Here's another one. If I won the lottery, I would give all the money to Speak and Shine with Marwa. If I won the lottery, it's only in my imagination. But, what a nice thought. Now let's move on to the past continuous. The past continuous is also called the past progressive. Here's how to form it. First, you need the auxiliary verb be at the past tense. So I was, you were, he was, and so on. And then you add a base verb plus ing. For example, work plus ing, working. So all put together, it becomes I was working, you were working, he was working. The main use of the past continuous or progressive is quite simple. Here it is. It is used to show an action in progress at a specific time in the past. Okay, for example, I was working, and here's your diagram. In the past, the action started, but the action is an ongoing action. So it's a long action. I was working. It's not a short action. Working takes a long time. I was working, and then at a specific time in the past, I was in the middle of doing that action. The past continuous or progressive has many other uses too. The past continuous has 5 different uses, so here they are, and let's take each one of those one by one and let's take a look at them. The first one, we have already studied it a little bit, but here's an example. We were watching a movie at 8 p.m. last night. We were watching, that is the ongoing situation, at 8 p.m. last night. So 8 p.m. is a definite time. It's a specific time. And at that time, I started watching before and I'm still watching at 8 p.m. and I continue watching after 8 p.m. So we were watching a movie. Here's another example. What were you doing yesterday at 7 p.m.? So you can use it also in a question form. What were you doing yesterday at 7 p.m.? I was making dinner. So I was making dinner. I started making dinner at 6:45 and I finished at 7:15. So at 7 p.m. I was making dinner. I was in the middle of making dinner. Number 2, interrupted actions. We have talked about this before. Here's an example. I was taking a shower when the phone rang. It was my mom. Right there. I was taking a shower. So this is the ongoing action, the long action, and then the phone rang. The phone rang is the simple past. So that's why I said we have studied it before, because when we studied the simple past, we studied that exact pattern. So remember, the long action is the past continuous action and the short action is that the simple past tense. Another example. She was going downstairs when she tripped and fell. Once again, the long action. She was going, ing, very long. She was going downstairs when she tripped and fell. These 2 short actions are both at the simple past because they come and they interrupt the long continuous action. Number 3, simultaneous actions. She was listening to music while she was cleaning the house. You see what it means now. It means that both actions are happening at the same time. And you see also that both actions are long actions. She was listening to music. Listening to music takes a lot of time. And she was cleaning the house at the same time, and that is also a long action. So you put both of them at the past continuous or the past progressive. Another example. Can you make the sentence? This one is pretty easy. You see the girl is eating and then the dogs are watching. You ready? What would you say? You would say, I was having lunch while my dogs were watching me. I was having lunch, long action, and my dogs were watching me, also long action, happening at the same time. Number 4, repeated annoying actions. This one is funny. Okay. I'm not surprised Joe and Tara broke up. They were constantly arguing. They argued many, 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 many times. So many times that it seemed to me like it was a continuous argument. So that's why they were constantly arguing. Another example. Linda was always gossiping about her coworkers. I'm glad she got fired. So she was gossiping many, many times in the past, so many times that it was annoying. and then it became like a continuous action. So that's why Linda was always gossiping. Number 5, polite requests. I was wondering if you could lend me $2,000. We have studied something similar for the simple past, right? But the first part of the sentence here, was wondering, is at the past continuous. But there is no graph because it doesn't really apply. Here's another one. I was thinking you might have some advice for me. Very polite. I was thinking you might. Very nice. Now let's check out the past perfect. Here's how to form the past perfect. You need the auxiliary verb have. Add the past tense, of course. And then you need to add the past participle. The past participle is the PP. For example, eaten. So eaten is an irregular verb. So you need to use the third column, V3. Okay, so eat, ate, eaten. So she had eaten. Or when we say it fast, she'd eaten. But if you have a regular verb like call, so you have to use the third one also, and it looks like the simple past, but it's not the simple past, it's the past participle. So he had called. Now, the past perfect is a very useful verb tense. Here's how to use it. We use it to talk about actions that were completed before another past action. Let me explain. Here's an example. I had eaten when she called. Okay, so here's your diagram. You're going to understand very quickly. Super simple. I had eaten when she called. That's it. So 2 past actions, but we use the past perfect to show a sequence of events. So that should be easy. I ate and then she called, but I had eaten when she called. Get ready to cry. The past perfect has 6 different uses. Yes, 6 different uses, and they are not so easy. So let's go. Actions completed before another action in the past. Here we go. The store had already closed by the time I arrived. So the store closed and then I arrived. But we use by the time I arrived to show a sequence of action. But remember, the first action, the store had already closed. This one is already finished. It's not ongoing. It's over. The store closed. And then I arrived, and that one is also finished. Another example. She had read the book before watching the movie. So she had read the book. She read the book first, and then she watched the movie. 2 actions in the past, but they are in sequence. The past perfect has some signal words. So some words let you know that you may need to use the past perfect. Not always, but very often. For example, they had finished their homework before dinner was served. He called me after he had read the letter. The thief had escaped by the time the police came. They had finished the game when it started to rain. I was disappointed because she had already seen the movie. She had just fallen asleep when the alarm went off. We had never experienced such cold weather before moving to Canada. So you see all the ones in pink, before, after, by the time, when, already, just, and never. These ones are signal words for the past perfect. And those words are also used to create a sequence of events in your sentence. Number 2, action completed before a specific time in the past. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Here's an example. By the age of 25, she had already traveled to 20 countries. So by the age of 25, so when she reached the age of 25, that was in the past, But before that, she had already traveled to 20 countries. So she traveled to 20 countries and then she reached the age of 25. Here's another example. They had finished their project by 8 p.m. So they finished the project and then it was 8 p.m. So they finished before 8 p.m. Cause and effect in the past is also a similar pattern. They were happy because they had won the game. So they won the game first, and then the second event was they were happy. But the second one is an effect of the first one. Another example. He had not slept well, so he was tired. So not sleeping well was first, and then the result or the effect was he was tired. Reported speech. I have seen that movie before. So you can say, she said she had seen that movie before. So the seeing of the movie, she saw the movie in the past, and then in the past, the second action in the past was saying, I have seen that movie before. So she said she had seen that movie. So have seen becomes had seen. Here's another one. I made a mistake. He admitted he had made a mistake. Once again, the mistake was made in the past, and then the admission was also made in the past. But making the mistake happened before. So made a mistake becomes had made a mistake. Hypothetical situations in the past. That is the third conditional. So something that didn't happen in the past. Let's take a look at an example. Look at the picture. You ready? Maybe you understand what happened. If she had arrived earlier, she would have caught the train. If she had arrived earlier. So the arriving in the past, but it didn't take place. So if she had arrived, she would have caught the train. So arriving, first action, second action, catching the train. But it did not happen. Another example. If he had studied, he would have gotten a better score. He got F on his test because he didn't study. But if he had studied, that would have been the first action, he would have gotten a better score also in the past. To express regret. Okay, this one is very useful. I wish I had traveled more when I was younger. For this one, the diagram doesn't really work, so I didn't put it here. So I wish I had traveled more when I was younger. I regret not traveling more. Here's another one. You know what that is all about. He wishes he had invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago. Don't we all? Here's one more. Poor guy. I wish I had subscribed to Speak and Shine with Mara earlier. That's such a terrible regret to have, so make sure you do subscribe. Now let's move on to the last tense, the past perfect continuous. The past perfect continuous is also the past perfect progressive. They are the same. It's just a different word that has the same meaning, so don't worry too much about that. You will need an auxiliary verb, and it's the verb have at the past tense, okay? Remember, there is no S there. It's all had. Plus, you're going to need been. Been is the verb be at the PP, the third column. Be, was, been. And then you will need to add the progressive form or the present participle, the ing form of the verb. So I had been working, you had been working, he had been working. When we say it fast, we say I'd been working. You'd been working. So you hear that sometimes. Finally, the past perfect progressive. Here's the main use. We use it when we want to focus on the duration of an ongoing action up until another action in the past. I know it may sound complicated, but it's not really complicated. Here it is. I had been working at the company for 5 years before I got promoted. So if I give you the diagram, you're going to understand very quickly. Past action, that is a long action. I had been working, and like I said, the duration is the focus. I had been working at the company for 5 years, and then what happened? Boom, I got promoted. So the duration of an ongoing action up until another action in the past, the second action is the getting promoted. Lucky you, the past perfect progressive only has 2 common uses, so you're very lucky. Focus on duration and cause and effect in the past. So let's take the first one more time. Here's another example. He had been waiting for 2 hours when she finally arrived. He had been waiting, and then the duration is there for 2 hours. Waiting, 2 hours. And then the second action is her arrival. She finally arrived. One more example. He had been singing for 20 years when he released his first album. So 20 years of singing, and then boom, he released his first album. Cause and effect in the past. So this is very similar. Here's an example. They were tired because they had been hiking all day. So they had been hiking, so for a whole day, the duration is there. Sometimes it's not there. You could say they had been hiking. And then the second event is not really an action. It's an effect. They were tired. Here's one more. This one is very complicated. Watch out. I noticed he had gained weight because he had been eating a lot of junk food. So he had been eating in the past, eating, ongoing action. And then the result or the effect in the past is that he had gained weight. He gained weight. But then I noticed, so this one is also at the past. So in this case, you have 3 levels of past tense verbs. Now let's review the diagrams for all past tense verbs. The simple past is very simple. Past action one time or many times. In the past, it's finished. Past progressive, something that was ongoing in the past at a certain time, or it was cut by another event or another action. The past perfect, 2 sequential actions in the past. And finally, the past perfect progressive, an ongoing action for certain duration until something else happened or there was an effect, but everything is also in the past. I hope you understood everything very well. I know it's not easy and it's a very long video, but I hope I was able to make you understand. If you want to learn more useful English, click on my other videos on the right-hand side. See you next time. Bye-bye.